What's up, y'all? Today it is Chambloozy the Almighty here, and I'm replacing the tension rods on my Infiniti M30, which is some of the parts can be, all the parts actually can be swapped with S13 parts. I've been battling a little bit of front end vibration, just a little bit of front end vibration in this area like that. So I've been through a myriad of things since I've had my M30, but today we're going to replace the tension rods. As you can tell, I haven't showed you it yet, but the tension rods are shot. Welcome to the channel. So one thing you can notice when you having problems with your tension rods is tracking. So say for instance, you go on an uneven road and your car pulls left and pulls right. If it's not the rack and pinion bushings, obviously, which are already brand new, it would be something like this, which is your tension rod. Look at this. These are clearly shot. If you really want to test these before you take them off your car, if you see grease around them, of course, they're going to obviously be bad. But whenever the way to do it, some of the bars inside of here slides into this and it slides down on the lower control arm. While it's bolted in, you can take a pry bar and pry it a little bit. If it has a little bit too much movement to it, then that means it's definitely bad. But like I said, this is like a 30-year-old tension rod here, so it's long overdue. It's grease flowing out the thing. So I went out and purchased some GODSPEED. These cost me $52 on eBay. I want to try to post some links down below to make sure that you get the correct. Well, actually, these were 64 bucks. Purchased them from online from a vendor, not necessarily GODSPEED, but they are GODSPEED. Well, the paperwork, this product is made to fit S14, but the S13 and S14 tension rods adjustable, which will also control your caster, are the exact same as the other. So S13, S14, they're pretty much the same thing. But for 64 bucks, these are pretty high quality. We'll do unpackaging. Set you up right here. And yeah, like I said, the reason why these are probably so cheap because this is an old style. And like I said, I didn't want to spend a lot for the OEM. Now, of course, there's no welding on here, so I don't have nothing to worry about as far as that area. The quality is actually pretty good in my personal opinion. This came with the bolts. It's supposed to come with the bolts. If it doesn't come with bolts, return it back. But compared to this, that's a big change. So you're supposed to do an alignment when you get these put in right afterwards. But of course, for me, what I'm going to do is measure both of these up with a flat base ruler on both sides and measure up the center hole. So I'm going to measure up the center hole, put the eyelet on it, and basically that's what we're doing here. I know this isn't, a lot of people like, oh, it's not high quality, but at least it says GODSPEED on it, so it's got to be GODSPEED. I checked their website, they wanted $119 for these things, but of course I must have caught them on a special or a deal or something like that, and that's how it is. But this is definitely an old style. I don't think there's any welds or anything of that nature inside of this part. Let me pop this off. And so you're supposed to grease these, but you don't necessarily have to. So, with this one, I can obviously put a screwdriver in the old one and move it easily. This one's straightforward and solid. I don't have to grease these, but because like I said, the internal assembly is already greased. These are bearingless here. So we're gonna go ahead and put this together, thread her up. So let's see here, put this like this. We'll put them side by side, make sure the eyelets and everything match up. Don't have much battery power, so we're going to show you just doing one side. It took a For these lower bolts, it takes a 13 millimeter to remove them. No. It takes a 14 millimeter to remove these bolts, and the main bolt, which is the 17 millimeter. Let me double check something while I'm here to make sure that the nuts match. They do not match up. The nuts don't match on this car. It does not come with nuts, obviously. So, yeah. I'm gonna have to go get those. So what I'm gonna do, I'm gonna just stick these side by side, measure it up, and make sure the links are the exact same from both parts. Get it centered as possible on the links. All the bolts should match up perfectly. So I think I'm going for a little bolt style. Let me check something while I'm down here. Bolts are different. They are correct, but it's not the right size. So, it might have to be a little slight modification here, as I have noticed that the bolts are slightly bigger on both sides. Of course, I could press out the old bolts and put those in there, but I think I'm gonna do that. I'm just gonna try to file those holes out a little bit more to get a little bit more indifference in here, and then buy some nuts for it. I'm gonna check the fitment of the front just to see if it mounts up in the center here. The S12, S13, and S14 should all be relatively the same. So it does, it slides in and everything like that. So in an M30, in the case of the M30, since the bolt holes, let me show you this. Since those bolt holes are a little bit small, I'm going to take a file and start filing them. Go buy me a file the inside of the holes out to make them a little bit wider. I think I may have a file upstairs, and the arm should bolt right in. I have to get bolts, not even whole bolts, just specifically the bolts that hold this down. Let you know. Stuff like this, you can't always win. Let's see if they got bolts in here. Yeah, they don't come with the bolt nuts. It's a good fitment on the bolt. Same fitment on these. For the 17 millimeter axle nut, same fitment on those. The axle nut probably matches it. And irony, this is the size that I need, is the same size as the axle nut. So yeah, here goes my beginning of my day. I'm gonna have to go buy some of these axle nuts yeah, to get this dander deal done. But as you can see, it's a very simple process. 17 millimeter, 13 millimeter. I'm gonna go ahead and adjust these up now. That way I'll have it preset. And then I'm gonna borrow my other car and drive that to go pick up some bolts. So one other thing I can note about this is if you look at the inside of the eyelet is different size than this, so you're going to have to put these two pieces in here to get an actual live adjustment to match up the holes on the side. add this in some more. I'm just trying to make this as accurate as possible. That is out, adjusting out. I want to make sure both sides is perfectly matched and flat. Irony is pretty much a straight match. Screw this in some more. I just thought I'd like to document this process real quick and make sure we're as close as we can get parallel. I'm gonna go upstairs and grab me a file and I'll file those holes off. Okay, looks like we almost got an exact measurement here. Get something flat. Make sure we line up. Flat side breaker bar, you probably can't see what I'm doing. A pry bar. Just making sure. Alright, you need to go out some more. That's actually, turn it in one turn. Symmetrical. And that's actually perfect. Okay, so what we're going to do, we're going to go under the car here. Not sure how much battery life I've got left. I'm going to just set the axle nut. These are supposed to help with the response of your suspension as well. You can either grease or not grease them. It's up to you what you want to do for these. That's what they say. You don't necessarily have to grease them. They already look much better than what I had on here. I'm gonna let you take a look at the hole. Since I can't see it too well, I'm making sure it's matching up through the camera view with you. And that's about perfectly symmetrical there. So this is actually a perfect match-up, markup. I'm just presetting everything. I'll walk to the parts store and go get me some bolts. Stay tuned. This is part 1.